Here we are live right here at the Lonestar Sports Network on the Lonestar Sports Show right here on site at Irving, Texas at the beautiful new DriveNation facility located right here in Irving, Texas, pretty much on the grounds of the DFW Airport. About as close as you can get to DFW Airport without being at DFW Airport.
That was an easy drive for me. I just came up 161. I live over in Arlington. It was a piece of cake, man.
Yeah. So, no, it makes a lot of sense. A convenient place, interesting animal, what beautiful facility. We're here doing something that we don't normally do. We see all the young parents are piling in here tonight, getting active and involved in this process. It's the Indy Hoops. I think this is Indy Hoops' first time in Texas, but it is the Indy Hoops National Championship, middle school championship. Indy Hoops is an entity out of San Diego, California that pretty much travels around the country. You know, if you want to take a better look at them, you go to indyhoops.com. You can get a better feel for what actually they're doing. But they host and brag about, you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, they've had the best players. Now some of their players are actually starting to get drafted. So that's when you know you've been in this business for a little while, when your players start to get drafted.
Well, it's easy to talk about how good someone's going to be, and at some point in time, you know, when the rubber meets the road and we get to the evaluation point, you know, you have to figure out either I was right or I was wrong, or, you know, or I was on the money, and not very often are you on the money.
Yeah,
you tend to overrate, you tend to underrate. And
yeah, I mean, I think it's a reasonable amount of that. But, you know, it's funny you say that, and I'm not going to totally just shoot you down. It's basketball Thursday, so it's okay for us to go out on this tangent, even though we got plenty going on with training camp, and obviously we got plenty going on with basketball, with everything with trade deadlines, free agency, less than 24 hours away from all that stuff closing out and being where it's going to be in the NBA world. But it all starts right here at this youth level. You know, there used to be a time, Tom, where you could say, you know, you when you were looking at 7th and 8th grade kids, and you said, oh, well, maybe not. Who knows what that kid's going to be doing 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now? Well, I saw LeBron James at the same time.
And you knew what he was going to be doing, which is playing professional basketball.
Right.
That's what you knew.
You know, I saw T.J. Ford at this exact same time. Now I see T.J. Ford's son who's playing here at the same time. So I think that's a double-edged sword. There is some truth about, you know, what it is they're doing. I mean, but that's the kind of stuff that you see going on in this kind of atmosphere. And I mean, you wonder why is youth sports an $8 billion a year business. You're looking at the representation of why it's $8 billion business.
You still have a level of projection, though, because like right now you're still looking at kids. They might be out there and be 6'3" to 6'8", and they look big, but they're still 13, 14, and 15 years old. And they're not done growing. Some guys will hit a growth spurt, some won't. Some will fill out, some won't. Some will take an injury, some won't. And I'm not trying to give like the evaluators a pass, you or anyone else, because but there is a crapshoot element to it. Because if this was a science, we'd just take the smartest person with the best computer, and we'd come up with a great formula, and we'd punch all the numbers in, and we would never have any Ryan Leafs. In basketball, which we've had.
And I'm going to let you. I mean, there's going to always be Ryan Leafs, but I'll let you in on a secret, Coach. 9 times out of 10, I haven't seen any of these kids play more than likely. If I go down and watch these kids play, the kid that I'm going to project the highest is not going to be probably the best player. I'll give you a perfect example. You see him on all the video deals around here. What's the kid from out at on the other side of the lake out here? Plays with DriveNation.
Samuel Williamson.
Samuel Williamson came to camp as an 8th grader at the same time. And, you know, now he's a top 10 player in the state of Texas, a top 50 or 60 player in the country.
What high school is he from? I'm not familiar with him. I'm sorry.
Rockwall
High School. Rockwall High School.
How big a kid is he?
About 6'6".
So is he playing with
He's
playing with the Grandstaff kid, the younger Grandstaff kid?
Yeah, right.
Right, okay.
Right. Your Grandstaff kid's playing with him.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
there's a whole lot of other players on that team.
That's a whole discussion for a whole other day about that, because there's been a little bit of that going on all the way back to it, including some names I can't mention. Go ahead.
But anyway, yeah. But I mean, when you're talking about it, but the point back to the point of the matter here is that he wasn't necessarily the no-brainer best player, and he still at this stage is probably not the no-brainer best player. You got to have the ability to project and see the trajectory in which a player is going, both physically and does he have room to get better or not?
Well, you know, I think it would be fascinating. They do a psychological test when you join the FBI and the DEA and the CIA and stuff like that, where they ask you a bunch of emotionally loaded questions, basically, to see how you'll react to things, because you're trying to project performance under pressure, performance under adversity, and see are you a step-up guy or are you a lay-down guy? And I think that over the course of time, we've had kids that will say, man, the kid didn't have a good attitude. He was uncoachable, had a bad attitude. But you can always go back and say, yeah, but I saw it coming. I saw that. I saw it. Remember that day when I saw this? Because your true colors always show through. So if there was a way you could just boil all the fat off the bone and get down to the ultimate germane issue, which is what is your physical growth upside and how coachable are you? Because coachability is a function of character. You have to let people coach you, or you're going to top out.
And here you go. You're 100% right. But here's the problem with that, or here's the real true nuts and bolts of that. It has to do with the adults that are around them. You come out of all the years that you've done at the level of public education. You've been, 30-some years of public education?
31, yeah.
Yeah. Usually if you got a crazy kid, you can follow him home to some crazy parents.
Yeah, crazy fruit falls off the crazy tree for sure.
Right,
There's no doubt about that.
Right. And so the point is that, I can stand right there on that rail right across from there and sit and watch and pretty much project the coachability or lack of coachability, the character or lack of character, or the nature of a player just by watching the way the adults around him are acting.
Well, and not only that, but I think you probably also know, I know you know the old school recruiting trick, which is you sit behind the scorer's table and you watch the eye contact of the kid when he comes off the court. You watch how he pulls his jersey. Does he dap up his coaches? Does he snub people?
There's a ton of. I mean,
there's so many indicators if you just look. But you know what we do? You know what we tend to do? We put our blinders on, and then we get out our measuring tape, and we measure how tall they are, and we measure how high they jump, and we measure all these measurables, and we compromise our integrity. I really believe that, and I'm not acting like the only guy who gets it. But
here's the deal.
We sell our soul.
Here's the deal. I call it the old horse trainer issue. You have the same issue with horse trainers. Every horse trainer says, if I had that horse, I could fix that. And so what happens is that college coaches and I shouldn't say college coaches, coaches in general, always feel like they could do a better job with a player than the other guy could do.
Oh, man, he had that crap high school coach. I'll coach this kid up. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he played for that moron at North Carolina. We'll get him in the pros. Yeah,
right.
Everyone thinks that they're very condescending to the level below them.
Yeah, I mean, they always think they can do a better job.
And
a lot of times they probably can, but the fact of the matter is there still are some things under the rock that are going to come climbing, some slimy stuff that's going to come climbing out.
Take Lonzo Ball as an example. I'm not saying there's any slime, just the issue of how much, now that he's all the way to the NBA and you have a difficult father, what's the likelihood you'll ever change that corkscrew shot? It's slim to none and slim left town. Never going to change that. Never.
Well, I mean, I totally have to agree with you that. And now I also want to commend Alonzo Ball is the fact that the whole LeVar Ball thing that he had to grow up in the shadows of or involved in, not even just the shadows, he had to live in the same house with. He's still a very calm, quality leader, quality player.
He managed the insanity. Yeah. He's really humble. He's real quiet. But at the end of the day, though, how are you going to fix that? Because he's got other things to do besides fix his shot. And it's been screwed up for years. But
because, I mean,
you're not the first person who told you it was a screwed up shot.
How many guys do you know that fixed their shot at 18, 19, 20 years old? I mean, they tweaked their shot, but change or fix, or I mean, just totally.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with your point.
Shawn Marion never fixed this shot.
We're so far down the road right now. Is it what I'm saying? Is it really plausible to think that a guy like Lonzo, maybe not Lonzo, just somebody else who has a bad shot, just somebody?
I said Shawn Marion.
Markelle Fultz. Let's go with Fultz because he completely yipped out. He looked like Jesus Christ. He looked like a golfer who couldn't putt no more. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're not going to fix that. And once you lose I mean, it's so mental. It's such a mental thing, and I just think that you can't fix it when you're 20 and 21 years old, when you have all the distractions you have when you're a pro and you're a millionaire.
Well,
you got to be pretty motivated to just put all that aside and go in that gym and fix it.
Well, I mean, I agree. So, I mean, I don't want to sit here and just babble about it, but I totally agree. So why would it be fixed? And we're going to have some of the people coming up. We're going to be talking about the class of 2022 and 2023. We're going to hear some national influence on it. The actual thing is that the weird deal is this is not something that Alan Branch does. I've seen a couple guys that have bumped in and said, Mr. Brand, what are you doing here? This is middle school. I normally take 1 or 2 looks at these kids in a camp environment because you got one thing about it, you got to look at them. You go over to TexasBoysBasketball.com, there's a kid, right? Well, he just left off. He was just on the screen. 22 kids, that's him shooting the basketball right there. But the point is 22 kids will be high school kids within probably 60 days, Yeah. So they are going into our world. So this is Tyson Gordon right there, long kid who really can get it done. But the point being is at the end of the day, here we are. at a middle school so-called mythical national championship. Who knows? All national championships mythical or world championships mythical?
They are.
I mean, because you never get, everybody doesn't get a chance to.
There's a funny quick story. When I was in Plano, I used to always hear people talk about we were like the national championship cheerleaders or drill teams. And I said, yeah, you're the national champion of the 8 teams that have enough money to fly halfway around the world for this little pretentious thing that nobody really recognizes.
You know, my boy in front of you from Chicago, one of my close friends, and he won't mind me calling his name, Lupe Nunez runs San Antonio, Texas Hard Work, is San Antonio guy, gives a lot back to kids, has a nice program, been doing a good job, came up through all this right here. You know what he always told his kids and his parents, and now he's getting up, he's having some, high-level success with kids. He said, the one thing I want y'all to understand about this process is that y'all are spending all this money, we're flying all over the world, we're staying in all these hotels, and hopefully your son's going to get a scholarship. But there's some kid in the projects in Chicago that hadn't eaten in 2 days is going to eat your son alive the first chance he gets. And he always dropped that on him, and they kind of used to offend him a little bit, but it was the reality of the situation. That's what it is, And so when you start talking about the best in the world, the best in the nation, the best, when do you all see all the best? I say I cover 14,000 varsity basketball players per class in the state of Texas, and I can be at best a 93, 94, 95% rate of accuracy.
Right.
Because there's always some kid in the woods. There's always some kid in the bushes.
Part of that book I want to write is I'm going to talk about how a lot of the American players who are elite when they're young never see they get blindsided by the Matthew Dellavedovas, and they get blindsided by all these those Luka Doncics, and who's the guy that just signed for the huge contract that won 21 last year.
Yeah. Hey, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. We're right here live at the Indy Hoop National Championship, World Championships exactly. 14U and 13U guys are actually involved out here at DriveNation. Got the Lone Star Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by Hardham Hotels. Hardham Hotels located there in Houston, Texas. Go take a look at HardhamHotels.com and see how you can put your money where you sleep. We come back, we'll be bringing in Brian Hirschman and Tom Inman, high school basketball coach here, retired high school basketball coach in 2006, state champion. They're going to discuss what's going on with this middle school stuff and talk about the 2020. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'll be back with y'all a little bit later. Alan Branch, Tom Inman, Lady Life, and the Prince, Under Your Money, back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show.
Hardham Hotels. Make money where you and millions of others spend money. Hardham Hotels Investment and Development Group's primary disciplines include hotel acquisitions, hotel development, hotel project management, as well as asset and partnership management. At Hardham Hotels, we invest in upscale focused service and extended stay hotel properties, mainly in Texas and other major urban markets. We are hotel owners, developers, investors, and asset managers persistent in our pursuit of successful ventures and passionate about our products. We provide nationally branded investment opportunities, including Hilton, Marriott, and Hyatt hotel franchises. Hardham Hotels strategically places the right product in the right location for the right customer. Get started with us today. Visit us online at www.hardhamhotels.com. Hardham Hotels, put your money where you sleep.
All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm sitting down right now with Brian Hirschman, the owner of Indy Hoops, and he's the guy who's running this program right now. It's basically a mythical national championship, only again mythical because you can't really document it. Mythical national championship. It's the first time that they've been here in Dallas, Texas. You operate out of San Diego, is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Diego.
I'm going out there Monday. I'm really excited about that. You want to get a little closer to the mic, young man.
Yeah. I want to correct you there, though. It is not a mythical national championship. It's a world championship.
Oh, okay.
And it is the real one, too.
Okay, so well, what's the qualification? I'm just saying because it's only a function of who's participating. But I was just talking earlier to, pardon me, as we're talking to Alan, and I said when you walk up down there, you see these guys are between 6'3" and 6'8", and it's kind of easy to look at an overdeveloped body and make presumptions that people are older than they are, but these kids are still 13 to 15 years old. So I think there's a lot of probably pressure on these kids. I said I think that most of these kids enjoy it, but I think there's a little bit of pressure in the sense that they're always being measured. And so the one thing I was going to ask you, first of all, at the gate was, who are probably your best rising 8th and rising 9th grade players? Could you give me a little bit of a preview? But before we start there, how many years have you been running Indy Hoops? How long have you guys been going?
So Indy Hoops is, we started in 2012, but I've been running basketball programs, tournaments, leagues out of San Diego for about, I'd say, over 10 years now.
Okay.
So Indy Hoops, I started off with Top Gun Basketball, which is a San Diego local brand, and Indy Hoops is like our national brand. We do rankings for teams. That's how we became known.
Okay.
But for club basketball. So there was nothing that was documenting club basketball. There was just high school. And so we got into the AAU and club basketball.
Well, that's interesting because most of the people who sell their services, they sell the service, evaluate individual players more so than teams. So that's kind of interesting because you guys probably serve a pretty good service to a person's parents who are trying to evaluate maybe what teams they maybe should or shouldn't be playing with. Because, you know, one of the problems with the AAU culture is you have a lot of people like, if you've been in since 2012, right now you're in your 6th year, so right now your 8th graders should be sophomores and juniors in college, and that's when you start, like Alan made a comment about, that's when the proof comes out in the pudding. Are your kids going to Division I? Are they getting drafted and that type of thing? And I think, if you, like I said, if you could spend a little bit of time maybe telling us about some of these better players and maybe about the importance that you feel of a kid getting a look before he gets to high school.
Yeah, so 8th grade, we wanted to do like the Little League World Series for basketball. That was the concept of the Indy World. We started it 3 years ago, and okay, there we go. We started the Indy World 3 years ago, and the Little League World Series of youth basketball. There was nothing like it, and we're like, well, why not? Everyone likes watching the Little League World Series, and the equivalent of that is not 12 years old. We thought it was 8th grade because once you're done with 8th grade club basketball, and then you go into 9th grade, I saw because I was a coach, and I see that things really, really change directly after they end at Indy World. Like there's one more month, and then they're going to go into high school, and everything flips. It's no longer youth basketball, similar to how when Little League is done, you're not youth baseball.
Well, as a former high school basketball coach, I can completely understand what you're saying because, like, you could be near a border of a state, and you might have kids from 3 different states, and they're going to 3 different federations that operate on 3 different principles. I've got one of my nephews is Mike Kabongo that played at Texas, and he got in a little bit of trouble by taking some inducements that he's not supposed to have taken. But when you're dealing, and that's an NCAA issue, which at least is theoretically consistent state to state. But as soon as these kids get done with you in the 8th grade year, then they're going to high school, and it is a lot more difficult because you have a lot of more complications.
Well, I was talking more from the standpoint, so these are my 2 lanes that I really stay in, the 8th grade and club basketball. I'm not really into the high school at all. I don't operate anything in high school. And the cool thing about club or AAU basketball, there's pros and cons to everything, but there actually is not really any federation, but there isn't, you actually could hypothetically have a national championship, let's say, because in high school, for example, like a California team can't go to the Dick's Sporting Goods, and so why not?
Right. Well,
right?
no, I didn't articulate what I was saying,
Yeah.
but I'm agreeing with you completely because they have not yet got to the high school federation level.
Yeah.
They're not held hostage by that.
But even in high school club, that's why it's been more attractive. Is that there's no CIF? That's what we call it in California.
Right.
Like it's more freedom. So my lane in 8th grade, a little bit about me is that. I coached in college, and I wanted to be a Division I head coach, but I fell in love with the 7th and 8th grade window, which you can see here is because this is still a moldable age. You could still fix your shot. You could still work on development. Right. Once you get to high school, after your high school here, your skill set better be on point of like what you're going to be as a basketball player after 8th grade. From there, you leave it up to whatever. You're going to grow taller or you're going to get stronger. But your skill set needs to be dialed before you hit that high school. And this is just like the end of an era for these kids. They've probably played together for a long time. And that's once they go past here, the shoe circuits, that's what I talk about with club. It's all about the shoe circuits, and it becomes more of a business at that point.
Well, the erosion of the skill set. I'm trying not to turn into the grumpy old guy that says, don't walk on my lawn and turn the music down and stuff, but we won a state championship 12 years ago, and I had the player of the year, a kid that played point guard for Coach Knight out of Texas Tech, and I had a kid that played for Buzz Williams up at Marquette. And when they got to me in 8th and 9th grade, their skill set was already developed. And it was, like you said, a function of getting them to be physically stronger, getting them to be coachable. But one of the problems is you get these kids who are so stunted and so stunted on their skill development level, they don't realize that they're way behind. Because you realize after years and years of evaluation, and I understand it for 30 years of seeing the players that you evaluate, that at the end of the day, sometimes there's just not enough time left to fix things. And that's where these kids get in trouble, because they think if they can dunk a basketball, they're going to play Division I basketball. Man, there's managers. You ever watched a Power 5 conference game when the managers go out and have shootouts? The Michigan State managers shoot against the Michigan managers.
I went to Arizona.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They're all state players that are out there shooting those basketballs, right? I mean, so I think sometimes people underestimate how difficult it is to get a scholarship. So I think you are right. You've got to get the skill developed at this point in time so that when they do go to the high school level, they're ready to develop the next depth of performance, I guess.
Well, yeah, if you're going to talk about scholarship, the 1%, 2%, you have to have a lot of good things going on in your favor. You have to get a lot of things right. And that's something that I want to transition into doing, which I've already started, is helping the parents understand how to navigate all of this. Because if you're new to it, a lot of the teams that you might play for will look great to you when you're young, but they're really the worst thing that can happen for you.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
It could be an all-star team. See, a little bit about what we did. Okay, I had a team, and we had seventh graders in San Diego. Okay, and we weren't like the sexy team or anything like that, but I had a couple players that bought into my philosophy. And basically it was this. We were really into fundamentals. It was kind of like a throwback, old school. Like, we really wanted to get the footwork right, the fundamentals, and we wanted to play up. We didn't care about beating people. We didn't play. We just wanted. We said if we went to a tournament and we went 2-2, but we got better because it's about winning the war and not the battle.
Not each battle's right.
And now, like you hit the nail on the head. Now I get to see, okay, this is where my philosophy, where did it go? My point guard is Jalen Hands, McDonald's All-American, played for me 7th and 8th grade. He's the UCLA point guard right now. And then another player, Reed Farley, who's going into a sophomore year at Harvard. So we have 2 Division I players out of, and we weren't this a big team or a big name. They had a lot of talent, but it's really about the coaches have to get the philosophies right, or they're going to hurt a lot of kids, like you've seen. And that's why I love the Indie World 3, because a lot of times we've helped with Indie Hoops structure club basketball a little bit more. And I hope that we are going to start finding, and I think I've seen in the last 5 years, better coaching, and I do think we've tilted so far away from skill development. It's bad, the Instagram trainers and all that. But I think it's going to start to come back, because I just believe, yes, go get the best talent, but then after you get it, don't just roll the ball out. Actually show them how to play, and then you're going to be able to be one of the best teams.
Right, and there's one thing that I've seen over the years that I'm sure you can back up, and I really hope that you'll kind of back me up and enforce it right here, is the idea that grades matter, and they matter now. They don't matter later, because I have one of my ex-players right now, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Porter Mosier from Loyola called me. I've known Porter forever. One of his assistant coaches calls, hey, we got a kid out there, and I'm not going to mention his name, and he wouldn't mind if I did, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. And when he came and said, we love him as a basketball player, everything's good, so send him tape, everything's good. So he calls me back the next day, and he says, hey, Tom, I need his transcript. So I walked in, I saw my assistant coach, Baron Brown, I looked at him, I said, man, it's over. He said, what do you mean? I said, they asked for his transcript. We're never going to hear from him again. Because this kid had about a 2.01 GPA, which, of course, if people out there don't understand how it works, the lower your grade point average is, the higher SAT test score you're required to have, and vice versa. So if you guys can lock in a really good grade point average in 9th grade, 1st and 2nd semester, and then maybe the 1st semester of 10th grade, you can make it doable. But what ended up happening, we never heard from these guys. So this kid had a chance to play on a Final Four team, go to a private school in Chicago, have a great life. But it did not happen in the fall of his 12th grade year. It started in 8th grade when he didn't take math seriously. And I really hope that people will remember all that, because all this training in the world doesn't make any difference if they can't get him into school.
Well, yeah, I'll go back on that. I come from the mentality that, like, everything that you do is important. So, going all the way back, we say this in our culture: prepare for what's difficult when it's easy. So you don't want to start when it's too late. It's too late and you're done. You need to start with your academics. You're in kindergarten, you're first grade, you're not there for no reason. Everything is preparation for the big show. Everything you do. So like back in the day, I used to go on podcasts and stuff like that, and I wasn't very good, but it was all preparation to now I'm here. Same thing with that. And also, basketball, it's just like basketball. It's a multifaceted game. You need to have a lot of different things that you can do. And a lot of things need to come together to play this game. You can't just be able to shoot. You need to dribble, pass, run, defend, rebound, block out, take charges. It's the same thing. You have to be able to have good grades. Right. You have to be good character, good basketball player. You got to be structured. You have to have a lot of momentum and things going in your favor.
The big things are a function of all the little things. So the attention to detail academically is the same thing as attention to detail.
It's no different. I mean, if you can't figure out how to get through the school coursework, you can't. If you are a good person and good in academics, you'll be good in basketball, and it's for the most part, and it's vice versa.
Well, one of the things too is that we always tell kids, you're here to go to school first, not play. If you can't handle the basketball side, when they first started no pass, no play in Texas, I had someone ask, "Are you mad that they're going to make a kid who can't pass not play?" I said, "No. If the kid can't pass, I don't want him to play. I mean, if a kid's not willing to get a minimum 70 average, he can't be serious about basketball. So if you really want to play basketball, value your education." So I think it's a great carrot on the stick. And when it first came out, everyone thought I'd be opposed to it. I said, no, actually, I'm in favor of it. I think, you go to school first to go to school, and hopefully you can, tie it all together and get yourself a scholarship, but it's a multifaceted thing. Brian, listen, we're about to break off to our next break. We're going to come back in 180 seconds here. I think Brian may be bringing some players on. We'll be doing a couple interviews. We'll bring Alan Branch back on. I appreciate you guys listening in the last 12 minutes. Brian, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of the story of Indy Hoops and stepping in and sharing a little bit of your story. We're glad to have you here in Texas, and we'll get you back on the show again before we break out for finish up at 8 o'clock, okay?
Thank you. Everyone come out. Drive Nation.
All right. Drive Nation, Indy Hoops 3. Thanks, guys.
Hey, here we are, the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Go look and see how FastSmallSports.com is leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology right there in Chicago, Illinois on Michigan Avenue, led by Ross Comerford, founder and CEO. Today, man, this is one of the things that I take pleasure in just being in this business, is to have a guy like Richard Law, class of 2003. That was a minute ago, Coach.
2002. But
2002, okay, right, yeah, there we go. That's even one more minute. That's one more second past that minute.
Don't remind me.
So you got a little one in the whole 9 yards now, right?
I got two little ones.
You got two little ones. Boy, time flies right on along. Well, first of all, I just want to preface, this is one of the best, I felt like one of the most well-developed, solid, consistent high school basketball players to ever play in the state of Texas. Obviously, we've had a bunch of really, really good ones, but you're talking about a kid having a solid high school career, having a place, grassroots basketball, played for John Urie, Houston Superstars, came along right after. He's younger than T.J. Ford, so T.J. Ford is older. He should be 1 year older than Lanny Smith. 2002, went to South Alabama, where he had a glorious career there. And parents probably have no idea how blessed they are to have a guy like Richard Law coaching their kid. And for him to be willing to go and do it at the 7th and 8th grade level is even more intriguing, because he had a fairly successful career coaching there at St. Thomas. Is that Episcopal? No, Catholic.
St. Thomas High School.
St. Thomas High
School.
Catholic school, right, in Houston, Texas, where he spent some time coaching there. And he has all the makings of could have gone any direction and could continue to go any direction in this business. Had the IQ when he left high school to grow into a college coach, and so he definitely demonstrates that now. What is it like for you, Coach, to be dealing in the 21st century time? I mean, you broke in. You were a part of putting Texas basketball on the map. You were with the group when people finally figured out in the rest of the world that people in Texas could play basketball.
Yeah,
And now you hear where everything is on steroids, everything is going crazy, all these parents, what is it like? What do you think now when you look and you see all of this?
Well, a lot of us older guys now, as we call ourselves, talk about that quite a bit. Back in 2002, you only had really John Urie with Superstars and Houston Hoops, and I think even BCI was obviously still around.
Starting to go downhill at that time.
Starting to go downhill, and I think Houston Lynx were starting up right around that time.
Yeah, Houston Lynx was still good. So what was Jack's goal? Houston Gold was still going.
Yeah, that's BCI. And then
that is BCI, you're right.
Houston Jaguars, obviously.
They were still kind of just.
They're juggling around with that whole situation. So, I mean, you're really dealing with 4 or 5
programs.
AAU teams back then, programs, however you want to word that. And now you look around, you got 25, 30, maybe even more at the 17U level, and it trickles all the way down to third grade.
And I know you don't have time to analyze and look at it. It's a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, no doubt.
We've got roughly, it's at the 17U level, we've got about 600 or 700 teams in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, in comparison to when he was talking about, which was only 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
You probably had 10 to 12 teams in the state of Texas. And that's how much things have changed in the amount of time. I'll tell the story. He was a versatile power forward. He was what I call the true, the Dirk Nowitzki type guy before Dirk Nowitzki was all what it is now. The pick and pop 4-man, the true power forward, had the versatility. He was a versatile 4-man. You were a mismatch 4 before mismatch 4 and hybrid 4 and all these terms came about. And, I like to look at it. At that time, I was still involved with the B team, the younger group, and you were on the elite team. When I look at it then, I just always looked at you as a complete basketball player.
Yeah, I was taught a lot of different things. I was blessed. My dad played at the University of Miami. Me and my brother lived in the gym growing up.
Okay.
And so from that standpoint, just being in the gym, being around basketball all my life, it was easier for me to make reads on the court, whether it's offensive or defensively. I knew I wasn't the fastest man on the court, but so obviously I'm a little slower defensively. I know that.
But you had a high IQ to go with it.
Yeah, so you'd have to have an
angles.
IQ to try to get to those angles. And, you know, at the end of the game, you see you got 20 points, 10 rebounds, and a couple steals, and, you know, opposing coaches are like, how did this guy do that?
Right. No, and that was exactly right. I mean, that was to take probably one of the most efficient players in the state of Texas at the same time. And, you know, I just always felt that even though you were afforded a lot of opportunity, there was never any sense of entitlement with you. You know, and maybe that would attribute that to your parents doing a great job with you and keeping you, you know, grounded and on a, you know, having a certain perspective on things. You know, who knows where all of it came from, but, you know, I thought they did a tremendous job with you on that.
Yeah, no question.
How is that going for you now that here you are in a situation where you are working your way through the process of communicating, translating, preparing, dealing with parents, dealing with young kids? You know, I've been watching you for, I guess, about the last 5 years, and you've dealt with everything from like 10 or 11 U all the way up to about 13 or 14 U.
Yeah, I've even had, you know, I had a 17U group before I even came down to this group.
Okay.
I had Alex Caruso. I had Jonathan Motley before he went over to the Defenders. You know, I've had a lot of success even at that level.
You know, Alex Caruso is a kid that was out of College Station, Texas, and just a decent kind of hoping for a mid-major type opportunity early on. Came to NBA Top 100 camp, and I'm sitting there. We both get on the same plane leaving Texas, and I don't even know who he is.
Yeah,
and
that sounds about right.
I had to get all the way to Charlottesville, Virginia to figure out who Alex Caruso was. And never was a great shooter, but I always say you always got to pick the right time to do the right thing.
Yeah.
He shot like 70% from the three-point line that week at Charlottesville.
Well,
and you coached him, you know he wasn't a great three-point shooter.
Well, I always told him, I go, you have a chance, because when, you know, I got him his junior year going into senior year. I mean, you talk about an athletic specimen to play defense, sees the court. You know, his dad played at Creighton with Eddie Sutton.
Right.
And you talk about the complete package, but the only thing he couldn't do was shoot.
Yeah.
And I go, Alex, if you learn how to shoot the ball, you might be a pro.
And guess what? He didn't learn how to shoot the ball, and he still is a pro. Because he's right there playing with the Lakers on the roster. I'm not sure how this thing's going to end up by this time next week, but he's got to get 1 year in for sure.
No doubt. I mean, it's an incredible story. You're talking about a kid that was under the radar his junior year and just.
No, I'm telling you, June the 15th, and I don't remember what year the kid was.
It would have been 2011.
Was it 11 or 12?
He's class of 2012, so that would have been
June of 2011. June the 15th of 2011, this kid's life changed.
Yeah. Well, and the week before that, we were in Pangos, and that's how he got his invite.
Right, to camp.
To go to camp.
Right, because I don't think I came to Pangos that year.
Yeah.
Right.
He just had I was out there, and he just blew up.
Did he shoot it again that week? Or he just shot it only? He stayed all the shooting for what
I'm sure he's making some shots, but evidently at the NBA,
he shot 65-70% from the three-point line.
That's incredible.
Right. I mean, that's incredible for anybody, much less a guy that consistently doesn't shoot it well.
If you're shooting over 40,
right, yeah.
Great. So
I mean, he just picked the right place to have the right time. He's a lockdown defender, high IQ guy, you know. And we're talking about you over the past 8 to 10 years.
10 years I've been in AAU basketball. So
as a coach, right?
2008 started it up, and so you got to figure I was 7-8 years removed from being with John Urie and being a player on that side.
Right.
And you know, like I tell kids right now, it's like, you know, we got so many guys that are being, you know, personal trainers, and I'm not knocking. I train kids myself, but you know, back when we were growing up, it's just go to the gym and go play.
It's robbing. I'm gonna take 10 seconds. It's robbing their feel, and it's robbing their ability to make reads.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think about cones and all the apparatus and stuff. I think that you have to sharpen your knife. You have to develop a left, develop a right, but you still got to be able to read feet and read and feel defenders and stuff.
Yeah, but you go into a gym right now. Let's just say there wasn't a tournament going on here. Let's just say there are 20 kids out on the court. You know what each one of them would be doing? Shooting. They wouldn't even think about starting up a 5-on-5 game.
Right.
So
it's such an individualistic approach.
Like they've kind of turned it into.
Well, yeah, I mean, you bring a great point there. Is that if kids are left to their own devices. Even your generation, if we'd have left y'all in here, y'all to play the game.
Yeah.
These kids now, I never thought about it, but if you leave them in this situation, they won't play each other.
Yeah, you pretty much have to.
Right, you know, I mean, if nothing else comes out of this 12-minute segment, I've been enlightened, and that is a weird angle, Richard. But, man, I just want to say I'm just really, really proud. Look forward to watching your team play. I think I got a glimpse of y'all down in San Antonio back in March. And we look forward to you bringing these kids on up. I figure you probably fall in a special group right on back to the 17U level again.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, we'll see where it all lands. But, yeah, that's the plan right now. So
anytime coaches start talking about it, see where it all lands, and that's the plan right now, I mean, they got a lot of options and got some good players.
No question.
Well, man, thanks so much for coming on. Richard Law with the Houston Hoops is here at DriveNation. I've been a part of this process. The community, the grassroots community, which is huge in the state of Texas, is truly blessed to have a guy like Richard Law. He's lived it all the way through the process. He's developed pros. He's coached pros. He was a hell of a player, played at South Alabama. He was pretty much a double-double guy in the WAC, right, at that time? You guys were in the WAC?
Sun Belt.
Sun Belt at that time, right. What? Man, New Mexico State was in – that was just –
Yeah, New Mexico State, for my first 3 years, they were in the Sun Belt.
Was in the Sun Belt. Man, that was a minute ago.
I used to enjoy going out there to Las Cruces, man.
That is hilarious, but a hell of a player there. I mean, I can't tell a story on the air, but one of my closest high-level Division I associate head coaches, we still tell the story over and over again.
Man, I love that guy.
The short version of it is that Richard Law was a hell of a player, and it was talked about in the locker room by the opposing team by all the business that he was giving them in a game at halftime.
Yeah.
Who is Richard Law? Well, they know who he is right now. We look for a lot of things for you, man. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
You have a great
Proud
day.
of you. We're going to break out. We'll be back from the break. You'll get Tom, M, and Alan Branch back here in 180 seconds with more Lonestar Sports Show. We're going to dive into some NBA basketball back in 180 seconds. Hey, here we are back here live at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network right here at DriveNation in Irving, Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. This particular segment is actually brought to you by Indy Hoops, the guys that are putting on, as you call them, man, I hope you don't get me run out of business. You call that dude's deal the mythical national championship.
Well, you said it, and then I repeated it,
Well,
and then he corrected
certain
me.
things you say in the locker room, you can't say on the sideline with the parents listening.
We have the approved list and the unapproved list, the nudge, wink list, and then you can.
You went to the unapproved list.
It was an unapproved list.
Well, he checked me. I took the check real well.
Did he check it?
Did he check me? That's okay. Hey, I didn't get pissy. I hope he didn't get pissy. It wasn't meant to hurt no one's feelings. Now, my Bruce Pearl comment, Bruce, all right, I was out of line last night. The other night. All right, we'll move on. I'm working on better. Tuesday night, I was out of line. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, here we are. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Mall Sports. The particular segment is brought to you Indy Hoops, and here we are at the Indy Hoops National Championship, 8th grade National Championship, where these kids have competed all over the country and made their way to here. And I think we got roughly 34 teams participating, and 12 or 13 of them are from the state of Texas. So it's a national tournament, and the guy that wins it is crowned the Indy Hoops national champion.
He gets the big heavy crown, and heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Right.
Better
Now,
watch it.
Now, curious enough, there are some players out there.
No, there's some really good players. I was just standing over sitting with Johnny Wilkins and talking to one of the photographers, and I was saying it would be really easy to look at these 8th and 9th graders right here and say they could possibly be really good freshmen, good sophomores even. I don't think you look out there and say a junior because none of them are physically advanced enough.
Well, I think that when you come to an event like this, and this is what I do, I'm going to give away one of my secrets on the deal is, I'm trying to see if I really want to know the top of the line group of what I'm looking at, because people don't like analytics, but when I look at it, which numbers of McDonald's All-Americans in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, last 15, 20 years, which ones played varsity for 4 years, which one played varsity for 3 years, most of them either 3 or 4.
Right.
So when I'm sitting here looking, and you should be able to do it as a varsity coach.
Sure.
Well, how many kids out there do you see that would have started on your varsity? And it'll be, as you look at it as it continues today, how many of these kids will be varsity starters?
Probably several, yeah. I mean, I haven't analyzed them, individually, but for sure there's enough size out there because I never had any size at Grand Prairie.
Right.
I'm posting up 6'2" tough guys, which I appreciate you trying really hard, but 6'2" ain't getting you no damn place.
Yeah, not when they're getting the rebound.
Not when the guards are 6'6" and the bigs are 6'10". Right. But no, there's absolutely no doubt. And so, basically you're agreeing with what I'm saying, which is that if you can look at these kind of kids right now and say which of these these guys were 7th and 8th graders last couple months ago, okay? Middle school kids. So you're saying how many of these kids could have started for a high school team? And if anybody out there,
and it's a projection.
Right.
You got to realize 75% of the kids here in 60 days they will be in high school, in high school athletic period.
Right, and that's why I'm saying this really is a good age group to analyze, because if you go too young, then you go back to when I was kind of chiding, Clark Francis for evaluating 5th graders. That's going too far.
I think that's going too far, right?
But
go ahead.
But if you don't have them on the radar screen by 9th or 10th grade, one of the delusions for my kids at Grand Prairie was they never understood the pace. They never understood the timeline of the process of recruiting. If those kids, I had John Robertson, who was the best player I ever coached, and John was the point guard that moved him from Florida his junior year. We won state. He was the MVP of the game, and then Mr. Basketball the next year. And he got recruited by Chris Beard and Pat Knight, who were assistants for Bob Knight. And they called me and said, is it too late to get involved? And I said, well, you guys are late, but you can always get involved. If I had him for 3 years, if I had him that sophomore summer, he probably would have been a national level player. But my point is, if you're not on someone's national level radar screen by the summer after your 9th grade year, and definitely by your 10th grade year, then mid-major, you're probably dreaming about anything even above the mid-major. So if you are going to be good enough, you better find out.
I think that's fairly accurate. I think that's accurate. I mean, and we can agree to disagree. I think that's accurate, probably 65 to 70% of the deal. But I think that the way the thing has gotten and the number of kids that are playing, so there's so many kids under the radar that never get any attention. We think the Zaire Smith thing, with him getting drafted numbers 15 and 16 in the draft and going to Philadelphia, going to Elite 8 as a deal, and not only having maybe 1 or 2 high major offers at the last minute and never getting any recruitment as a junior hardly in high school, we think that's fairly uncommon. We think the Jimmy Butler stories are fairly uncommon. But I can go on and down the situation of naming kids. That's becoming more and more common. And you say, why is it becoming more and more common, Alan? Because there's so many kids playing.
No, it's paralysis by analysis. It's hard to sift through all the crap. No disrespect. There's so many in-between players. substandard college-level players that some of the coaches get tired because they've got to go dig through all this crap to find the rare
scout,
the rare needle, in the haystack.
The scouting service guy gets overwhelmed. Coach, if I told you that here is the 2021 class, just finished their freshman year in high school, I'm going to tell you there's roughly 14,000 of them in the state of Texas. And I'm going to give you all year long to come back and give me who the best 100 without looking at anybody else's list and just figure it out.
I don't want anything to do with that.
Right, yeah, because it's more than a notion, It is actually more than a notion, so there's going to always, how accurate is Alan Branch? 85, 90, 95% maybe on a good day?
Well, you were talking about people flying under the radar, and I was going to talk about Scottie Pippen, which people will immediately discount by saying, well, that's a long time ago. No, there's still Scottie Pippens out there. Well, remember Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady came out, had one big summer, and got drafted.
You got to realize Tracy McGrady came to ABCD as totally an unknown, wasn't even invited to ABCD, got a plane ticket, say, yeah, go ahead, I'm going to take your word and get him up here. He leaves North Carolina, nowhere on the map, shows up there next Monday morning, he's the #1 player in the world. That's how good Tracy McGrady was.
Right.
And was on, but
you'll never make me believe that doesn't still happen, because I know Jimmy Butler real well. He's playing with Joseph Fultz at Marquette.
And looking at the guy that found Jimmy Butler.
I mean, basically, Joe had to ask Buzz to do a favor. Jimmy's not getting a lot of action, but he's our kind of guy. And he's exactly Buzz's kind of guy. Tough, physical, ain't taking no stuff, has a chip on his shoulder. I love Jimmy Butler. No one in the world loves that kid more than me, but there's always going to be Jimmy Butlers because, like I said, just because there's more tournaments doesn't mean, put it this way, if you have a whole bunch more tournaments, that's like saying now there's more beaches, but just because there's more beaches doesn't mean there's more diamonds. It just means there's more sand.
Here's the problem. Okay, I'm going to give you a problem. You're a retired basketball coach. I'm an active basketball scout. The problem is that there's more going on. So guess what Money and Alan Branch have to do? We have more to sift through. We got to go through more can't plays to find more can plays.
That was my point about the diamonds in the sand. There's still the same number of diamonds. There's still the same number of McDonald's All-Americans and high majors, but you have to sift through more sand and more beaches and more crap. And there's some point in time, pardon me, there's a point in time, like, I don't know if you ever get to that point when you read and you can't remember what you're reading, or you're watching a movie and it's not computing because your mind can only absorb so much information.
Well, I mean, I think it's a certain amount of that. It's just the amount of time to see kids, and then you got to turn around and look at the context in which you see kids. You can totally miss, evaluation, we like to believe when we get kids in a certain context that it's pretty easy. I mean, just like I'm sitting here watching right now, and I watch so much basketball, it's almost crazy. I can watch these kids move just with seeing nothing but their shoulders up from upstairs up here where I'm seeing now. And I got a certain sense of the pace of what's going on. Every once in a while I'll see the ball. Pretty decent basketball being played right there on court one.
Yeah, we saw a young man that's about 6'8", 6'9". He's probably 13 or 14 years old, and said he can't run out of sight in a day because the way he walks will never change.
Yeah,
he's got those the feet pronating in. When a guy walks on the inside of his feet, that don't ever change.
Yeah, it doesn't translate. I don't want to say it doesn't ever change because, DeMarcus Cousins has the same problem.
Yeah, I guess never's a long time. That's not fair. Right. You have a tendency. Never's a long time. You have a tendency to.
A lot of times those guys don't get past that. It's difficult
to break out of your natural. There's a natural way I walk. I walk a little on the outside of my feet and back on my heels. Right. And I think you'd agree. I was at my sister's house one day when I was telling her that I can tell a guy played basketball by the way he walks. So me and my sister are out walking, and I see this tall black guy across the street. About 6'8". I said, that guy played basketball. She said, oh, that's Carvin Holcomb. You know Holcomb. He played at TCU. I know he's a local guy, lives up in Plano, coaches high school basketball. But the point is, he's 6'8". He's got a calf that's about 3 inches tall, that's about 3 inches below his knee. He walks like an athlete, right?
Right.
And I said, but I can tell that from all the years of just watching athletes walk.
But that's a learned behavior. You get a feel. I mean, you can tell the way guys move and handle and warm up. I mean, there are certain things that players pick up on. But, right now, sitting here, you guys got a chance to visit on the class of 2022 and the class of 2023. How did that go? I didn't even get to chime in and listen to any of it.
Well, he kind of ran down how he runs his program, which I think is kind of impressive. Wasn't so much talk about individual players, but we talked about how I thought that this is a good gap group to evaluate. Because like we said earlier, if you go too low, you're just selling your soul a little bit, because who really needs to know about a fifth grader? But you really do need to know, because these kids have got to get on the radar screen. He talked a little bit about how Indy Hoops, he's run kind of grassroots thing where he's worried, he focuses on fundamentals more so than the, getting the big name players. He mentioned he had the point guard from UCLA, and he's got a kid who's playing out at Harvard. So that's not a huge list. But on the other hand, it's not about the huge list, because I was kind of talking with a little bit of contempt. I was talking about how when I had John, who's the player of the year, there's 18 coaches that said, I was John Robertson's coach. No disrespect, but no, I was his coach. Call John, he'll say, no, Tom Inman was my coach. Who was Nick Wise's coach? Royce Usman. Right, who's his high school coach, right? And then,
no, Nick. Well, I guess I look.
And then whoever his summer coach was,
his father too.
Right, exactly.
His father was was high school coach his first 2 years.
Exactly right. And then he went to play for Royce. But if you asked anyone other than those two, those are the only two who had the right to lay claim to him. But you see that a lot. People who claim this player, claim that player, and at the end of the day, if they're not returning your phone calls, then maybe you're not on their list. You might be on theirs, but they're not on yours.
There's a whole lot of different reasons. It happens in basketball. What happens is a kid goes and plays, or he coaches in one weekend in camp, and he says, "Well, I coached him." Right. Well, you did coach him, but
you met him at the airport game about a box of shoes. Come on,
it's just like you coach guys when you were the Nike camp.
I had Tyreek Evans. That doesn't mean I was his coach. I spent 3 days putting up with him, and he spent 3 days putting up with me.
Right.
That's it. That's all happened.
So, and it happens like that. So everybody looks around, at those situations. They coach in the same program, or they were involved in some kind of a way, and they coach. I mean that happens. Everybody wants to be associated with good players.
But what Brian said that I thought was interesting was he said one of the things he does is he ranks and evaluates programs, and what that kind of does is it gives some of the parents sort of a benchmark to look at, because one of the things we talk about, very few parents have two Division I athletes, so it doesn't really matter how bad they get screwed over, because by the time they figure out how bad they got screwed over, it's too late.
Too late, right?
So what he's doing is offering advice to people and showing longevity. I think you'd agree that, like Big E, for instance, Big E's been around for a long time. You got to give the guy credit. He's got to be doing something right, or he wouldn't have lasted all those years.
Yes, right.
But those guys who come and go,
you got to look at their resume.
If you don't last 3 years, you're fly by night.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Anybody can fly for 3 years.
Well, in 3 years, tell me how many kids. 3 to 5 years. Tell me how many kids have you had a chance to put through the college process? Depending on what age you are, what do people think about you? I mean, it's just a lot of things that come along with that whole process. We get ready to go to another break here tonight. I knew the night would fly, being right here in the gym, right here at Indy Hoops National Championship, Middle School National Championship at DriveNation. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Indy Hoops. We're back in 180 seconds with more Lonestar Sports Show live at DriveNation.
How do you think these players from across the country compare to the players that's in the Wisconsin area?
Ranked teams, better players, competition, more teams that we got to battle against.
The competition a lot tougher. Like in the Wisconsin area, we get 2-3 teams that usually compete, and we all just between those 2 and 3 teams who win all the tournaments around there. But this is more different teams. You never know who's gonna win.
Together, I asked them a question, what's the best part about team? And of course, I got all the cliche answers. And I said, no, the best thing about team is your team. Having a bunch of guys that you can depend on and rely on. And this is a type of game where you can't do it by yourself. You have to rely on guys to be there and have your back and work as one.
Hey, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show. Coach, you thought I was going to cut you, Coach?
I thought I was getting fired. Hey, it's really funny.
You can't get fired when you're not getting paid, Coach.
Well, that's why I'm
fired. Got fired when you volunteer.
That's why I'm blatantly doing product placement, because nothing in the world would matter as much to me as the Nike deal I had, as much as the Starbucks deal. So,
Starbucks deal be bigger than Nike. You buy your own tennis shoes and we have free
exactly.
Starbucks.
I can go down to Waco. I go down to Hillsborough and get my own shoes. But if there was anyone out there who wanted to organize some sort of a Starbucks arrangement, you know, I always say, I'm not sure what the question is, but coffee's probably the answer.
Oh, boy, that would get you in a good place with either one of us right here.
Oh, man.
Right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. You're right here at DriveNation at the mythical.
You better watch it. Hey, don't start this. Wait, he leads me to water. I walk in the water, I get my feet wet, and then he laughs at me and doesn't give me a towel. Nice guy. And then tells a water joke. I like this dude,
I'll try
man.
not to laugh. I'll try not to laugh.
Hey, this is a racial thing, isn't it? Y'all are picking on me. I'm a white guy.
We did it to Snoop.
Set the white guy. But we said Snoop up the same way.
That's all right. Hey, me and Snoop got messed with us written on our forehead. Trust me, I get it.
It's a high school coach guy.
Hey, I know Snoop for a long time. Snoop's got it written on his forehead just like I got it written on mine.
It's get the high school coach guy. That's what it's all about.
I don't even care, man. I got thick skin.
But, yeah, we're right here. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Small Sports. This particular segment is brought to you by Indy Hoops. We're live right here in DriveNation at the 8th grade national championship. The finals right here will be going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until they have crowned a national champion. But, you know, basketball Thursday, everything's going on. We can't help but kind of dive into what's actually going on right here up under our nose. But less than 24 hours, or roughly 24 hours from now, it's actually probably about 26 to 28 hours from now, there's going to be some decisions made in free agency, yes or no?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure, July 1st is July 1st, right? At midnight?
No, it's midnight tomorrow night.
What is it?
Yeah, it's midnight tomorrow night.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, midnight tomorrow night, right.
Yeah, there's some big decisions. And somebody's going to be buying dinner at 12:01 somewhere and signing a big-ass contract.
I got a question for the whole staff here and anybody who wants to chime in. In your opinion, who stands to gain the most, who stands to lose the most in reference to the high-profile three-man circus thing we got going with roughly 3 or 4 teams going on with this free agent thing that starts out, we talk about LeBron James, we talk about the Leonard kid that are down in San Antonio, and they've got the wing that's at Oklahoma City. And, you know, you got all this tampering stuff. Do the Lakers need this to go right more than anybody? Does LeBron need this to go right more than anybody? Does Kawhi Leonard need this to go right? You know, one thing you got to realize is that Kawhi Leonard hadn't played basketball in 1 full year, roughly.
Right.
Well, what are you thinking, Connie?
I think the team that really has the most to lose, I would say Oklahoma City. Just you lose Paul George, then you're taking steps back as far as winning a championship with Russell.
Yeah, but I mean, playoff P leaving, and they've lost everybody. I mean, Oklahoma City must be Swahili for I'm about to leave next. Are you kidding me?
Right,
they used to have Durant, and they had Harden, and they had Russell Westbrook, and they had Serge Ibaka, and everybody leaves. I think the one that's got the pressure is Magic, because just today I don't know if you heard where Magic came out and said I don't feel any pressure. Well, that's the old Shakespeare line: "He who doth protest the most."
Well,
if you didn't feel any pressure, you wouldn't talk about the pressure.
Then Magic said he would leave if he didn't sign a major free agent or trade for 1 to 2 years.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that he put the caveat to 2 years. So what they're saying is this might not have to be the year, but think about this: do you really want to coach Lonzo Ball in the circus that goes with him? I'd rather have Kyrie Irving. You got to be able to package something up. There's got to be a way you can get Kyrie Irving to come to L.A., get Ball out of there. You picked up Mo Wagner, who I really like Mo Wagner. Julius Randle doesn't figure into your plans. You got to figure out a way. Something's got to happen. Because right now, I mean, whoever thought the day would come when the Lakers are getting outdrawn by the Clippers? That's pretty bad, man.
I mean, yeah. And the Clippers are in a situation.
He said, "Keep the change, young man."
The Clippers are in a situation here right now where he just got rid of his son.
Right.
Is out, and now the Leonard kid, who played at San Diego State, and is very comfortable with going there.
Yeah, but there's 2 reasons I don't go to L.A. 2 reasons. First of all, you're in the West, which means you might not even get to the conference finals.
Right.
The second problem is you got a 10% tax. You got to really seriously think about that. $25 million. You're giving $2.5 million to the state of California right off the top, so you can pay for all their messed up programs. Which we don't have a state income tax here, so we're spoiled.
Let me ask this question: and where is there more pop? Going and being a part of the long list of great players and all the championships that the Lakers have won, and being special, and taking a $10, $15, $20 million haircut to go and do that. I mean, that's the problem I have with the wing kid that is looking at going over, just leaving Oklahoma, looking at going and leaving there.
Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George is a Fresno State player. Played at Fresno State, going back to California. He's one of. I mean, let me ask you this point: if you got, I'm just going to put we're not trying to pinpoint, but if you got $100 million in the bank, do you pass on making $20 or $30 million in pursuit of legacy?
Well, I'll quote a guy who I don't really get along with all that well, and I don't even like him much, but Greg Marshall at Wichita State has been quoted by a lot of people as saying, don't run away from happiness, because he's had a lot of jobs thrown at him. He really has. He's had I think he makes $3 million. The Koch brothers give him his private plane. He gets to go wherever he wants to go and everything. And he's had those big jobs thrown at him, but he probably got a good point. And then I think back to the movie Wall Street. You remember the movie Wall Street? Gordon Gekko, right? And so at the end, when Charlie Sheen finally was disgusted by him, he said, Gordon, how many yachts do you need to water ski behind? I mean, what's the difference between $100 million and 110 or 85?
Is there a difference?
There's no difference at all. You still sleep in one bed. You still got to eat a meal off a plate.
The inheritance? Is that what it is?
Well, generational money. There's an interesting question or interesting story. I watched 60 Minutes, and they have a group called they call it the it's a group of people that have agreed to, give me a minute, I'll think of the name, but it's a group of people who agreed to give half of their money away. They're all billionaires, okay? And it's the Giving Pledge, they call it. And it's led by Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, a lot of people, Larry Ellison that owns I think he actually owns part of, he used to own the Golden State Warriors. Well, anyway, all these people are giving their money away, and they had one common theme. They said, we want to give our kids enough money that they can do something, but don't give them so much money they have nothing to do.
Wow,
that's a really.
Now,
that's
I'm gonna tell you something now.
That's a deep statement.
You just got you another. Every once in a while you come up with one. You get you a bonus, boy. I think you keep them stashed out over there.
Oh, I got a little list right here. All right, this will keep me through
every time
August.
you think that, there you go. He comes up with one. That one right there just to kick you back over.
But it really is true, because
I've heard a lot of things, man. And that goes right up there at the top of the list. I want to give the kids enough money that they'll have something to do, but I want to give them so much money they don't have anything.
Don't give them so much money that they have nothing to do. Right. Warren Buffett has given 99% of his money away. Well, that 1% still worth $77 million. When you divide that by 3 kids, they still all have a paid-for house. They all drive nice cars, like Warren said, and you're getting $25 million. Jesus Christ, what do you want? What do you want, man? So, going back to the basketball analogy, I mean, how much do you change over money? And that almost contradicts my statement about the taxes, because if you're really happy in California, then the hell with it. Pay the tax and just go live in the sun.
Right.
But on the other hand, like, part of my argument with LeBron going to the West Coast is, if he really wants us to believe that he's chasing rings, he has to go to a Western Conference team, I think, because or stay in Cleveland. Because if you go to, pardon me, you have to go to an Eastern Conference team. I said that backwards. And the reason I say that is because
going to a Western Conference team just puts you even farther away from the deal. Right. Now you got to, how many long did you have to wait for Golden State?
So if you go to LA, you're not playing for rings. If you go to Philly or Cleveland, maybe you're playing for rings. Cleveland probably more plausibly, right?
Now what about the fact that he's so adamant about the fact that he would like, to the best of my knowledge, he's adamant about the fact that it's so important for his son to play in LA. He thinks that provides the right environment for development and the experience that he's going to have in high school basketball.
I don't think I think LeBron could live in an outhouse. He could live on Mars, or he could live in the North Pole, and it wouldn't make any difference, because his kid's going to get the same coaching anyway. I mean, if your family wants to live in California and your wife's happier, then maybe he should do that just to make his family happy. And he sure don't know. He doesn't need my approval or any of ours, right?
No.
But at the end of the day, if he decides to go to the Western Conference, especially to California, he's going to be seen as giving up on the ring chase. And really, there's an argument that maybe he should give up on chasing rings anyway. It's kind of undignified. You're 3-6, and you're going to have to play 9 more to get 3 more rings. So you're going to be like 60 years old by the time you finally get your 6th ring and challenge Jordan. And you're not Jordan. Let's get over that.
And you're not Jordan. Boy, I tell you what,
not Jordan.
I was Spud Webb and Snoop and a couple other guys. We were all sitting the other night and having an adult beverage and smoking cigars, and we were watching this tribute to Jordan. I don't know what NBA basketball had something going on that was real heavy concentrated Chicago Bulls. type world, Coach, it's not even close. Man, Michael Jordan was so much of a fluency. He was so fluent as a player, just so natural, so much more of a killer. You know, LeBron is a really talented facilitator. I mean, to me the edginess, LeBron's probably more versatile. I mean, but Michael Jordan was a full-blown 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365 days a year, scoring assassin.
I would have called him the Sicario. I just watched that movie last night, right? You know, that's Spanish for assassin, right? I love all these mafia, cartel movies, right?
Right.
And I really would have called him the Sicario because he was an assassin. Jordan used to make stuff up. Jordan would lie and say that you stole his bike when he was 10 just to give him a reason to be pissed off so he could kick your ass for the 11-year-old national championship.
He was as edgy as they possibly come.
Well, you know, his dad always said Michael didn't have a gambling problem. Michael's got a competition problem.
He's got a competition deal. He was a guy that he would gamble. I was told this from a reliable source that he gambled on whose luggage was going to come off of the luggage carousel first.
Tell me if you've heard this story.
And he would have paid the luggage guy in the back, gave him 20 bucks to hold it back to do that.
To tank it, right.
I told you I'd beat y'all. Right.
Oh, yeah, well, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's because they were coming in out of the same airport all the time, so he had the damn luggage people.
Right.
Well,
I heard a story about Antoine Walker, who always wanted to be Michael, because Antoine grew up in Chicago when Mike was coming up, and they went out one night, went gambling. They say Antoine lost 180, was whining and complaining, so Mike said, come on, follow me, with a few bad words. Took him up to his penthouse, told the guy to give him 18 straps, $10,000 stacks. He said, here's 18 stacks. Now shut the F up and remember, you're not effing Michael Jordan. You never effing will be. Shut up, dude.
Well, he used to have the biggest, I'm going to go ahead and disclose this. Guy gives us nothing bad about it. So Michael Jordan used to host the biggest dice game at the Super Bowl that I ever seen in my life.
You know, they say he had $1 million cash always in his briefcase.
Yeah.
No, security guy always had $1 million.
It was the real deal. There was no doubt about that. But hey, we're about to go to break here with the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network here at DriveNation. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. FastSmallSports.com, located in Chicago, Illinois, right there, leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Live here at the Indy Hoops, back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show right here on Basketball Thursday. Hey, here we are back here at the Lonestar Sports Show live at DriveNation right here in Irving, Texas. Pretty much on the grounds of the DFW Airport, International Airport right here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's supposedly the third or fourth largest fourth largest metropolitan area in the country right here. We're sitting in the middle of a fast-growing area, and basketball is growing at the same rate. We're right here on Thursday night. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. This particular segment is brought to you by Hartem Hotels. Hartem Hotels located right there in Houston, Texas. Put your money where you sleep. Go take a look at HartemHotels.com. You'll hear more about it at the end of this segment. But, we didn't get a chance. Basketball Thursday, we missed it for some reason. I can't remember what happened. The award show was last Thursday after we got off the air. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it all went okay. Let's run everything back. Rookie of the year, the Simmons kid from Ben Simmons from Australia, played 1 year. Let's see how that all went. He played 1 year at LSU. He was drafted in the draft, and then he didn't play for the whole year because of an injury. Is that correct?
Right.
And then he gets the award the next year. Right.
Well, I mean,
let me go ahead and take your point. I mean, where you get this.
I'm going to be a grumpy old man on this one. I'm sorry, because in baseball, and I can't name the exact number, but in baseball, they've got a minimum number of at-bats that you have to have before that year counts as your first year.
Everybody has that. I mean, you have just like in
basketball doesn't have a minimum number.
I'm talking about in college. I mean,
no, I'm talking about like the pros. So my point is, like, if Ben Simmons was a baseball player, and let's say the threshold was 100 at bats, and he got 70 at bats, got injured, went to the minor leagues. Okay, next year you're still a rookie,
right?
By agreement and by collective bargaining consensus. But you're not a rookie. Claiming you're a rookie your second year is like having sex and telling your wife you're a virgin.
Boy, you can leave it up to it. Boy. You got to get your beeper ready. Y'all sitting over there going to sleep. I know y'all can't go to sleep on Tom. There's no way you can go to sleep on Tom. Oh, you got to keep the beeper ready all the time.
Seriously, he's not a rookie.
And then, how many games did he play in his real rookie year?
I don't even know. I mean, I don't know. Did he play at all?
Because you got to get the information right. Ben Simmons, right?
He didn't play any games
at all.
He didn't play any games. No. So now you're on the dude the wrong time.
Okay, all right, hold on now. But Philadelphia's the only team in the NBA that has a redshirt program.
Well, I mean,
the fact that your owner is willing to let you pay millions of dollars to a guy to come in and get healthy. Now, by the way, I talked to Gratz yesterday about Kevin Hervey, and Oklahoma City's going to do that with him. They're going to put him in rehab for a year. They're not going to expect anything. In fact, he says he may not be at Summer League because of that. And I said, no, that's actually a good thing. But going back to Philadelphia, the fact that they redshirt everyone doesn't mean it's normal. It just means that's what you do.
So
he's not a rookie.
So you shouldn't have been a rookie.
No. Why second year? Did he get paid?
He didn't play, though, Coach.
He got paid.
Oh, come on, boy. It was the first time.
So let's talk about
the
James
show getting ready to get good. Now, whoa, before we get to James Harden now.
All right.
And the kid didn't play, Coach.
Donovan Mitchell was really good.
If the kid didn't play, he's a rookie.
All right, but hold on a second. Hold on. Couldn't play or wouldn't play? There's only one letter difference.
Couldn't, wouldn't. You know what the word is? It didn't play.
Okay,
it's not couldn't or wouldn't. Didn't play.
I understand that.
Could, wouldn't, doesn't even matter.
Okay.
He could have stayed at LSU another year.
No, my point is that somebody in Philadelphia told him not to play, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't play. And if he couldn't play by an injury, I would say, okay, you're a second-year rookie. I got no problem with that. But if you just sat out for a year because, I don't know, you wanted to scratch your ass or something, I don't know why he took a whole year off.
It's his prerogative.
Sure, but it's my prerogative not to call him a rookie after 2 years.
Well, you're not in charge of calling a rookie, but you can only call a kid. You can call a kid.
We can agree to disagree.
But you can call a kid a rookie if he. I mean, I see if you were arguing a point if he had played all the way through December and decided he wasn't doing so well and he just said quit. I'll re-up for my rookie year next year.
Do we really know that he was injured, or did he just take a year off?
It doesn't even matter if he was injured or not. Why does it matter?
Because if he was injured, I would say then that was out of his control. If you were sitting down, they redshirted you because they have a soft philosophy in Philadelphia that includes sitting down and redshirting every rookie. And then having your wife tweet off a burner account. Jesus Christ. Let's not call them a normal NBA franchise. They're a train wreck.
I don't know about train wreck now. I think the train wreck is going in a pretty good way.
The players are good. The franchise, I'm talking franchise.
Yeah.
Colangelo's a colossal joke. I'm sorry, but whether it was you or your wife, either one of you idiots shouldn't have had a burner Twitter account bad-mouthing your employees and your workers.
I'll say Sacramento's
more of a
dumpster fire.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah. But if you turn around and look at what's going on, you can't take that kid being a rookie. Yeah, you can't take that kid being a rookie not playing. You deny him of his rookie deal. He could have still been in college.
You're right, and he could have gone. Well, I was going to say he could have gotten paid, but I would have to say not gotten paid as much. Come on, man, because he's been paid since he's 14. Come on, man, agents have been paying his dad probably since he's 12.
Yeah, well, I mean, who don't know? I'm not here to incriminate that.
Oh
deal.
no, I'm not incriminating anyone, but I'm just saying there's money to be spread around, and you have a choice of when you leave. And really, to be honest with you, this isn't so much against Ben Simmons because I really like Ben Simmons. I just fell in love with Donovan Mitchell late in the year. I didn't know who the hell the kid was.
Oh, okay, now we get to the.
At least I'm telling the truth.
Now we get to the bottom of it. Now
I got a man crush on Donovan Mitchell.
I got my witnesses there. We just found out it's not that he doesn't think that Ben Simmons shouldn't be Rookie of the Year.
You want to arm wrestle?
You think Donovan? Is it Donovan Mitchell? Isn't it? That's the kid's name?
Yeah, Donovan.
Right.
Mitchell.
I just really like him. That's all. And again, it's not an indictment against.
Donovan Mitchell's older than Ben Simmons.
It doesn't matter how old you are. Your rookie's your first year as a professional, which again goes back to Ben being 12. No kidding. But
boy, I tell you what, I love it in America. Only in America can you twist and turn things around to fit your perspective.
And I can do it really well. All right, now let's talk about LeBron fatigue, okay? Because this bothers me because I'm not a LeBron apologist, but LeBron is without a question the very best player in the world. Without a question, he had a Herculean season because he dragged around a half-ass roster and got them all the way to the finals.
Well, they weren't that bad. Kevin Love's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's pretty good, but knucklehead J.R. Smith pretty much took their chance. But anyway, the point is this. LeBron was spectacular, and we have LeBron fatigue, just like we had it with Jordan. Jordan was always the best player in the league, but every once in a while we got to give it to Malone so people don't think it's all rigged. The best player is the best player. And if for 13 years in a row LeBron's the best player, give the friggin' award for 13 years. But James Harden getting it is a straight running joke.
Well, how long have you been around? You take this tournament right here. There's going to probably be an MVP of this tournament. Right here. And you know who that MVP is going to be? Oh, you know, you went to the state tournament. I was sitting up in the bleachers when y'all played. I mean, up in the media section there, and they passed out these little white sheets of paper for us to vote on all the guys. All the media guys are the guys that vote on the MVP for each class division at the UIL state tournament. When we do that vote and do that deal is, you know what 85 or 90% of the guys vote on there? And who ends up being the most valuable player?
Whoever scores the most points on the winning team.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'd argue that sometimes it's the guy who takes the big charge and gets the rebound, or sometimes there's actually been, I think Jerry West actually won the MVP one time in the finals on a losing team.
That's right. He's probably one of the few guys to win the MVP of a finals or a championship game on the losing team.
But see, the distinction that people are going to make when I crush Harden, which I'm going to, is exactly why I want to jump all over his ass, is because what they're going to say is that the MVP is a regular season award, not a playoff award. Okay, but James Harden is a regular season player, not a playoff player. Mike D'Antoni's not is a regular season coach, not a playoff coach. Yeah, because all that fugazi shit blows up in their face when it gets tough.
I'm pulling out my 77 zip code driver's license now and break this thing down now. You got to realize the Houston Rockets.
I got a dirty skin on this one.
Yeah, the Houston Rockets had Golden State Warriors as far up the rope and on the ropes as anybody during the whole playoff series. Am I right or wrong, Arnie?
I agree.
You're right.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, they had them right there. And if Chris Paul, who knows what conversation we having right now? What does this narrative look like if Chris Paul? I know if my auntie had a mustache, she'd be my uncle, but or my hair auntie, however that goes. But the point is, at the end of the day, we still are in a speculating mode right here. What situation are you looking at if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt?
Oh no, I'll grant you that because I think he's a tremendous leader. I think he's a spectacular leader both for the NBA Players Association and for his team. But that goes back to part of my problem again with Harden. So when Chris Paul is down, and he didn't stop coaching that team just because he was in street clothes. You watch Chris; he coached that team.
He did.
And obviously James at the 0 for 8 on the three-point parade, and then 0 for 16, and then 0 for 24. At what point in time? I mean, I got to believe that somewhere along the line, Chris Paul at 12 or 14 or 15, and that 0 for 26 stretch of threes that they ran through that one game would have stopped that bullshit himself. Yeah, but my point is, so why won't you listen to him? Why won't you listen to him? And I don't think James Harden cares about winning. I don't. I mean, you can yell at me all day long. I don't think James Harden cares about winning. I think he cares about scoring. He cares about his beard. Cares about his Adidas deal.
How much different is he than the majority of the players that are playing right now? Would you say that his mentality represents 50, 60,
Oh,
70%
sure.
of all the players that are playing right now?
And he uprises the grumpy old
Coach,
man.
here's the deal right here. We got 2 minutes to go before we go to break. I had a young man on, Richard Law, that was on earlier. You know something he pointed out to me? He said, Coach, you know what's different now than any of the kids when we were coming along and y'all were coaching us? He said, you know what's totally different now is I could leave 20 kids in this beautiful gym with 4 or 5 basketballs and leave them in here for 3 hours, and when I come back and look at the video, and they would have not played one game. All they would do is stand around and shoot and do individual stuff.
I agree.
I mean, and that's I don't know if that catches you by surprise. I mean, it doesn't catch me by surprise, but it surprises me that I never had thought about it.
Well, yeah, for him to articulate it and force you to think about it, but at the end of the day, that's why basketball IQ is so low, because kids don't play enough. When we were kids, we would go to the gym and you'd wait for 30 minutes to get on the floor,
Coach,
and I might pick up.
And that blew me away. You leave these kids. I mean, that was 4 or 5 segments ago, and I'm still harping on the fact that you could leave kids in a situation like this, and they would never play. They would never pick teams and play.
Well, again, if you guys were both if one of you guys was my friend and the other guy was the enemy, if I couldn't stand you, I would still take you over my boy, because I would sit there and say, I want to hold the gym because I've been here too long waiting, and we'll go eat pizza later. But I'm not taking my buddy and losing my spot. And I think that's part of the problem is if you got 3 games a day, whether you win or lose, what's the difference if you win?
We definitely know it's a part of the problem, but the only way that they can play is that they have to have a staged game. They don't love the game and die into the game and fall into the game like that. And that just blows me away. I'm sorry. That might be the biggest thing I've learned on Basketball Thursday is kids don't play pickup basketball. That's nuts.
We're getting a little long in the tooth, Alan.
Yep, probably so. I mean, it is what it is. If you can give me a rig and a good plan and everything, a good golf package over there, then, hey, I'm out. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Take a look and listen, or go take a look at HarlemHotels.com and see how they're leading the world in investment by being able to have an opportunity to put your money where you sleep. Harlem Hotels is located or based out of Houston, Texas, right there where they are developing all over the state of Texas. And go and look and listen and see more about how it's going. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Alan Branch, Tom Inman, my main man, Ani the Prince, and Lady Life pointing us in the right direction, keeping us where we need to be right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on Basketball Thursday. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Small Sports. There's some interesting guys over right here with the Indy Hoops. National 8th grade middle school national championship. Kids have played all over the country, and now they're back here. Kind of cool to have that nice gym sound. It's not too, obviously a Lady Life would be raising sand with us. Obviously it's not too overwhelming, but it's enough to know that you're in the gym.
Yeah, I like the squeak. You know, the squeak, the bounce, and the whistle. Those three sounds you're always listening for.
Right.
The shoes, the ball, and the whistle.
Yeah, and I need to hear more squeaking and less whistle and less ball bounce.
Well, it's really funny. I was downstairs.
I can listen to the quality of basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good basketball, you don't hear it bounce much. You hear a lot of squeaking.
Right, there you go.
I just saw Jim Sagona, who's the coach at Collin County. He's an old friend of mine. I told him that I retired, and I said, I'm just really enjoying this. I said, I'm not getting out of basketball.
Right, exactly.
I'm just not going to sit on the bench of a high school and teach class anymore. There's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah, unless you get a job like David Peavy, where you make $100,000+ a year, don't have to teach any class and just coach the team.
Yeah, well, they had one coach for 40 years, and they've had 5 coaches in 8 years. And in fact, I had a funny story. I talked to Matt McQuaid one day, his dad, Rob, right? Rob's an old friend of mine. And I said, Rob, if when Matt was a freshman at Duncanville, and what kind of odds would you have given me if I said, I want to bet you that he's going to have 4 coaches in 4 years? He said, I would have given you 1 billion to 1. And he had 4 coaches in 4 years. So
it happened.
I mean, I wish the best of luck to Peavy, but hang on to the money because that longevity is not a strength over there these days. And high school basketball is almost getting unfair in that sense because it's starting to sort of resemble college. Like, a little bit as far as you're not winning enough.
Football doing it. Football been doing it.
Well, again, I'm not whining because, but it used to be basketball coaches kept their job by not embarrassing the football coach. Don't do anything stupid. Don't be too good. I proved that one. Don't win too much, you'll get fired. But at the end of the day, now it's like you're expected to win. Doug Bleedorn got fired after 7 consecutive 20-win seasons at Plano East. 7 playoffs in a row, 7 years in a row, 20 wins. Jesus, what do you want, man? But at some point in time, I think
everything wears out, though, Coach. Nothing lasts forever,
I had a great college coach one time said that you lose 10% of your support every year. So then he says, so do the math on the 11th effing year. In other words, you're upside down. At the 11th year, you have negative 10% support. Okay, well, nothing lasts forever.
There's a certain amount of angle on that, but the deal is that everything starts to. You can't continue. I think who one of the most impressive college coaches are to me in the whole country.
Which
right now for longevity? Leonard Hamilton, Florida State.
Florida State, yeah, he's about 12 years now.
Probably longer than that. Matter of fact, I know it's probably been longer than that. Leonard Hamilton. How long has Leonard Hamilton been at? We're gonna get that looked up in a look. Leonard Hamilton, Florida State. This is 2018, 2005. Yep. No, it's probably been 13, 14,
12,
15
13.
years. Yep, somewhere along in there. But you just can't get around the fact that everybody wears their welcome out. How long has Mike Krzyzewski been at Duke?
Well, it's really funny when we won state.
It's 2002.
It's been 2002.
Wow, 16 years.
16 years, right.
When we won,
and then doesn't seem like he's headed right straight towards 22.
No, exactly. No, it's funny when we won state in 2006. My dad turned to my girlfriend at that point in time, and he said, "Tom thinks he's locked in for life. He won't last 5 years because my dad's father registered dead people to vote in Chicago. He, the ultimate cynic. And it wasn't that I was cocky because I didn't change at all. In fact, I told my friends when we won state, don't let me be cocky. If I act different than I acted any dumber, I act dumb, but not different dumb. But at the end of the day, I said, if I act different, smack me down. But what was my point? I just lost my train of thought when I just coughed. I'm sorry.
The whole thing is how long can you last when you have so much success?
My father, right?
Yeah,
he'll be out here in 5 years. He's pissed off too many people.
Yeah,
and my wife had a funny line. She says her sister says my wife's African. She says the farther the monkey climbs up the tree, the easier it is to shoot it in the ass. that was her sister's famous line. Well,
right.
When you climb up the tree, that's
easier
to hit you.
Right.
Right.
That's a good way to do it.
Right.
Look at it, but nothing lasts forever.
No.
So you should be prepared. Nothing lasts forever. You should be prepared to change over. And then my other thing comes is there's an exception to every rule.
Right.
And so because there's an exception to every rule, you have to look at the fact that with that being the case, that you're going to have a Leonard Hamilton, where at the same time, the exceptions usually only represent 5-10% of what's going on.
Well, you go back to Greg Marshall. Marshall's probably been at Wichita State, 12 or 13 years at least? He's been there quite a long time.
No, not that long. I can tell you exactly how long he's been there. Mark came to Texas A&M in 2008. 2007, 2008, Billy Gillespie left, and I don't know why I can't call Mark's name. He's a head coach in Maryland now.
Sturgeon.
Mark Turgeon. Mark Turgeon. He took over for Mark Turgeon, and when Mark Turgeon left there, Mark Turgeon came in 2008 to Texas A&M. Actually, the summer of 2008. Yeah. I remember it just like it was yesterday.
7 to present. All right. So my argument is this. Okay, he's been there 11 years.
Yeah, David Cowles. David Cowles came off the 2007 team over at Kimball High School.
The argument would be that okay, for 11 years he had great success for 4 or 5, so he could have parlayed the last 7 years into $5 or $6 or $7 or $8 million.
I think I don't.
But that's still $3.5 million a year for 10 years. That's $30 million. How much money do you need? Greg's a pretty simple guy, I'm sure. Most of us are relatively simple guys.
I can't afford to. He's a hell of a basketball coach. I'll tell you that much.
Coach, right. But he's the outlier to the rule of thumb, which is usually 5 to 7 years, and you're pissing enough people off, or you're probably getting a better offer, or you're ready to retire, that you're probably going somewhere else.
Yeah, he's found a niche. He's found a comfort zone, and and that's where it is, and that's the whole piece on it. That would be my on the air comment on the situation or what it is.
But for those 2 guys that you just described, Leonard Hamilton and Greg Marshall, for those 2 guys, I could name 1,000 guys that have gotten jacked. You know that.
Yeah, but
it's a volatile job.
It goes back to the deal. There's an exception to every rule, but exceptions normally don't represent much over 3, 4, 5%, 1% of what's going on. So, if it's like playing the stock market or playing the odds or shooting dice or whatever, the odd, there's an exception to the odds, but if you play the odds, then more likely you're going to come out ahead.
Right. If you have the discipline to stay with it.
Right. That's exactly right. If you have the discipline or deep enough pockets or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right. One or the other. Right. So the same thing. Discipline and deep pockets are the same thing.
Yeah, it gives you the ability to stay with it. So that's the whole thing that you're looking at at the end of the day. So when you say that and break all of that down, there you are looking at the nature of the beast. But we started out talking about, I think the last segment, I don't know if we got it finished up. We got all the way down to we got through the Ben Simmons Rookie of the Year, and then we had the MVP, was the Player of the Year. But how about I predicted, and tell me, I think Lady Life will remember. She has a good memory. Only should remember. I predicted that my man would win Coach of the Year and get fired before the conclusion of the season.
Yeah.
Casey? Yeah,
Dwayne Casey.
Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me.
How good a job did he do?
He did a great job. He did a great job, but the problem is that it's easier to fire one coach than 12 players because of collective bargaining. Yep. And at the end of the day,
we give you a half a point for that. That's a pretty good way. That's a good another.
It's just, and they're going to use the same old bullshit excuse that they need a new voice. Well, what's crazy is they hired the assistant coach. Wasn't he one of the voices they've been hearing for the last 5 years? I'd like to know the background on.
How many NBA practices have you ever been to, Coach?
1 or 2, not many.
Okay. That voice stuff is way overrated.
Yeah.
There's only one guy in there, the voice. The rest of the guys are breaking things down, analyzing, looking, and they communicate some, the ones that can, but, those guys, they come in, they know what it is they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do, what any good or bad. At the end of the day, here's a scenario, here's a situation, get these guys to buy into it, and you do it better than they do it.
Well, and again, sometimes you do need a breath of fresh air. I can understand that.
Right.
You can make the argument.
How long you think you would last at Grand Prairie High School with the Grand Prairie Gophers, right?
3 more years, and
now,
at some point.
But if the players would have had the ability to have a voice in firing you.
Oh, I'm sure I wouldn't have lasted the 8 years I had. No, hell no. And to be honest with you, I'd be embarrassed if I'm actually a good guy, but I'm a very hard guy, and I'm straight up, but I don't stay mad. And all my players would tell you I never stay mad at them long term, but I'd be embarrassed if you weren't pissed off at me short term. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to yank your chain. I'm trying to piss you off. Are you kidding me?
Well, you're trying to strike a nerve. You're trying to build. Yeah, I totally agree.
Right, but if every day you went home I think I told you this story, but we had a coaching change my sophomore summer. And we got a guy that I didn't think really knew his stuff, and I came home whining and complaining, and I kind of got de-emphasized and phased out a little bit. So my old man, who is not my fan by any stretch of the imagination, was eating dinner, and he looks up over his glasses and he says, maybe, did it ever occur to your arrogant ass that maybe the other kid's just effing better? And he put his head down and ate a spoonful. Then he looked up and he said, you're interrupting my dinner and you're pissing off my wife. that was my dad's way of saying, shut the F up. I don't want to listen to your whiny crap.
That's some real Chicago, Midwest, true blown sitcom type scenario stuff.
That's the God's truth. What my pop said. He didn't want to hear that stuff no more.
Everybody loves Raymond. There you go. How about that? Then that would that make you think about everybody loves Raymond?
But my
Honey
dad,
probably doesn't even know what everybody loves Raymond is.
But when my dad said that the code.
I'm familiar with the show.
The coded message was "Don't ask again." Don't ask again.
Right. You know, and that's the whole deal, man. It's just about a lot of really out. I still can't get over the fact that Richard Law said, man, if you leave these kids in the gym, they wouldn't pick teams and play a game.
You know what? Another one I've heard. I was talking to.
I'm gonna be thinking about that when I go to sleep tonight.
I was talking to Matt, and he said, I can't tell you how many times I've gone on a scouting trip. I'll walk into a college practice, and I'll see 7-footers who all they want to do is shoot the three. And he said, it just turns my stomach. Because, I mean, yes, it's nice to be able to make the three and stretch the four, but not if you learning to shoot the three means you refuse to post up. Costa-Cofa's disease. I love Costa. He's a nice kid. But I think if he gets within 6 feet of the basket, he breaks out in hives.
Well, I mean, you know, and the game has changed some, but it's still, you know, rebounding will never be lost.
Oh, no. There will always be money for a guy who will rebound. There will always be money for that dude.
Because the ball has to get – you have to get possession of the basketball.
Rick Mahorn. I always think about Rick Mahorn. If Rick Mahorn hadn't been a professional basketball player, he might have been a football player. He might have been a bodyguard. He might have been a thug. But that dude was as big as a tree. And when he decided he was getting a rebound, you weren't getting that rebound from him.
It's not your first time in the facility, is it?
No.
You came out for EYB.
Yeah,
okay, I was going to ask you. We'll talk about it later. But, yeah, now we're about to go to break here, winding down the end of the show. It's been a fast show. This is actually Texas Boys Basketball and the Lone Star Sports Show first outing, Lone Star Sports Network second outing, actually, in a remote broadcast. We did the Final Four, which went fairly well down there. And anytime you do something for the second time, you're a little bit more prepared. I think it was a little bit more prepared environment, too. And we rolled in here. So it's a good chance that we're going to be doing more remote stuff. We kind of starting to get it on the hand. We know what makes it work, what doesn't make it work. Obviously, I got to talk to the boss, Lady Life, and find out how well did this really go. It might not even go that well. I don't even know if it went well or not. But you got Tom M. and Alan Branch, Honey Money the Prince, and Lady Life, the boss, keeping us where we need to be right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Back in 180 seconds for our final segment right here at Drive Nation. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. We're right here at the Indy Hoop 8th grade middle school national championship at Drive Nation. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show.
Alan, what's your website address for Texas Boys Basketball?
Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Like we like to say on Basketball Thursday, we are down in the paint. Sometimes in the football season, we call it in the red zone, but anyway it goes, we are down to the final segment of the Lone Star Sports Show right here on Basketball Thursday. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Got Alan Branch and Tom Inman sitting here breaking down some of the things and where things can end up and how things can end up looking. Let's close this thing out. NBA basketball, obviously, other than summer league, being basketball junkies, things will go. But projection going into next season. I mean, I just like Boston and Golden State.
I love Boston. I absolutely love them because when you sit there and think about what they did without Gordon Hayward, you did without Kyrie. Mm-hmm. There's almost an unlimited ceiling if they can share the ball.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only concern you have to have with Kyrie Irving, and I really love his game, except he dribbles the ball too much. I mean, there was a point in time I think when they were playing in the finals that LeBron, who's dribble heavy, was dribbling, or Kyrie was dribbling twice as many times.
They got some guys that counted the dribbles. It was some absurd amount of.
Yeah.
There's actually analytic on that. And how much time
dribbles, how many times you dribbled a basketball. There was a game one time when Klay Thompson scored some crazy number of points, and he
like 61 points on,
on 6 dribbles or 9 dribbles, something insane.
Right, and then you got the other guys that scored 30 points on 341 dribbles or something.
If Harden has to dribble the ball 30 times a possession.
Right,
he's got to.
Yeah, and it is. I'm not a big Harden fan. Based on the criteria, the way they choose the regular season national champ, he should be the regular season national champ.
Right. Or MVP, you mean?
I mean MVP.
But what they should do though is change the award to make it including the playoffs, because remember how embarrassing it was the year that Dirk we got beat in a 1-8 playoff and Dirk had to get his trophy after getting his ass kicked by a really bad team.
But the deal is you got to move the regular season deal over to regular season time and announce the champion then instead of holding it down to the end or either include it. It's just out of order.
Oh, no, I agree totally. But
chronologically, it just doesn't make a lot of rhyme and
like
reason.
You said, just announce it after the season instead of wait till after the playoffs.
Right, and wait till after the playoffs after everybody's kind of remembers.
I mean, your lasting impression of it, James Harden, is when he goes like 0 for 10, 0 for 12 in Game 7.
It was more than 0 for. What did he go 0 for? 3 for? What did he go 3 for?
Oh, 3 for 20.
Right.
But if you'd have given him that award the day after the season ended, you could have said, okay, I don't necessarily agree, but okay, whatever. And then as he continued to suck more and more as you got deeper in the playoffs, we wouldn't mock him for it because he'd already have his award sitting on a shelf.
Well, and it's a regular season award.
Right,
so
exactly.
why?
Don't embarrass him and Dirk by making it awarded during the playoffs, because then
after they already stunk the playoffs up.
Exactly, it's convoluted. You're muddying up the water. If you're going to make it a regular season award, give it at the end of the regular season.
Right, and that's it.
And you'll shut people like me up because I probably don't have a right to say it, but you're giving me a chance to say it because you don't make it a regular season award and present it at the end of the regular season.
There you go. And that's exactly right. So we got to hit them on that piece right there. So if you had to give a projection going into the offseason, which we're basically going to offseason other than Summer League will be going on, a lot of movement will take place in the next 26 hours. I was in a meeting with an NBA group this morning, a personnel representative, that might be a better way of saying it, and some of the names of people that they were talking about calling back in to make back active and put on some league team, and who they were trying to find out was in shape. I was pretty, and that wasn't a part of our meeting. Our meeting had a whole other purpose to it. I was pretty funny, pretty blown away, pretty hilarious, the fact that they would be looking at some of these guys that they're talking about bringing in. But it's the shortage. It's the one thing I did find out is it is the shortage of maturity and the shortage of experience and having sound guys in. Some of these guys are guys that they drafted and have been gone for a number of years, but the G League thing is getting ready to really, really pick up.
Well, I think what they got to do is take about a 5-fold increase in the pay. Pay a kid $100,000. That's couch change. They pay that to scouts in the NBA. Stop paying them $27,000. They won't have to leave
the G League thing?
Yeah, the G League.
Oh, yeah, the G League thing is going way, way, way up.
Yeah, because
but what is going to happen is it's going to hurt college basketball because you're going to have kids say, do you want to go to college or you want to go make $150,000 a year playing basketball?
Well, maybe they'll take away the charade called I'm a college athlete or I'm a college student.
So now that everybody go to college really has some aspirations to go to college?
Well, you're going at a discount now instead of at a premium. Because like you're going to college, you might be getting paid between $100,000 and $300,000 cash by somebody who's a friend of the program, pays a friend of your family, but that's 10 years in the G League. If 1 year in the G League was 3 times what you're going to get on the street, well, then, you know, I don't know. If you went to college, you'd be going to college because you wanted to go to college, not because they forced you to go to college.
Because the rule forced you to go to college.
Right, exactly. And we've talked about that.
And you really don't even want to be there.
And the NBA owners, the only reason that they have that rule is to save themselves from themselves. Well, they'll use a perfect example. They'll use Michael Porter Jr. and they'll say, we saved $10 million by making him prove that his back was screwed up. Because if he'd have gone last year, he's number 1, 2, or 3. This year he goes 14, cost him $10 million.
And he never coached schools his back up.
No, and he'll still do fine. He'll still make plenty of money.
Yeah,
but on the other hand,
his back is okay.
You only get one chance to dance. And the second contract's the big contract in the NBA. You know that.
And no, you're right about that. But I mean, the thing comes down to it, Coach, is that life is not an exact science. We can sit here and twist it and turn it and say, you know, if I'd have done this, if I'd done that, if I left here, if I'd have been on time, you know, I can remember I caught an airplane out of West Texas into Denver, Colorado, and where my friends tried to talk me in and say, hey, man, screw that flight, come ride with us. And they went off the side of the mountain, and only one person survived the accident.
Jesus.
You know, so I mean, you know, I don't know, was I supposed to be in the accident? Not supposed to be. I had an option, you know. You know, and I have about 3 situations like that in my 50 years of living that it could have been, you know, a different way. So, I mean, I look at it is that, you know, you have things that are designed or predestined to go certain ways just based on and we can speed it up, I think, and we can mess it up, you know, as human beings. But, I mean, I think there's a divine nature or a higher power that has a purpose, and as long as you're in pursuit of that purpose, then you're fit for the process, and things are you're going to navigate a lot of wrecks.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go through some adversities that seem like the end of the world, but actually going to take you farther down the road than you thought they were going to go.
Well, I learned an interesting phrase this year. We've always talked about helicopter parents. You know, you have to deal with parents who fly over the helicopters, but now they got a new one called lawnmower parents. And lawnmower parents are the parents who mow down all the obstacles so their little baby doesn't stub their toe.
Coach, how many times
you're
I
not
told
going
you?
to get anywhere in life if the first time you run into some BS, you quit, you're toast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes back to what Tony Benford always says. Are we preparing kids for the path, or are we trying to prepare the path for the kids?
No, prepare the kid for the path.
Right.
It's going to be a bumpy-ass path.
Right, yeah. And the reality of it is that no matter how you try to shape it or whatever, when you step back and push them out into the real world, there's no more fixing the path anymore.
Well, you know, parents mean well, but the path to hell is paved with good intentions. That could be another week?
Yep.
That could be another week?
That gets you another week. That's a pretty good one.
But you mean well when you baby your kid. You mean well when you enable your kid, but you're not helping your kid because no one wants to see their kid get crushed. No one wants to see someone not get a job, or someone broke my little baby's heart, or that coach won't play my kid. But more kids need to hear what Ken Inman said to me back in 1974, because I needed that. And guess what? All these years later, I still remember it. And it made me a tougher person than I would have been if my dad had babied me.
No, I mean, and you're exactly right. I mean, I had a middle school coach to tell me, alternate with a quarterback, and at that time, black quarterbacks wasn't really accepted. And he told me, he said, man, if you're going to be any good and you want to continue to play this position, you're going to be twice as good. And I mean, that was a harsh thing to tell a 13-year-old kid, but it was reality.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're going to get less margin than the white kid.
That's
you better get ready for all the crap that's coming your way. Do you really want this?
I mean, and Kermit Snead looked me right in the face and told me that, and I thought that was really, really screwed up. Coach, that's not fair. That's not right idea.
And I bet he said something like, fair. Come on, young man.
Yeah, I mean,
let me tell you about what ain't fair.
You want the truth or a fairy tale is what he told me.
Right. No fairy dust here.
Right. You know, but that was those old hard black coaches in the hood that raised us in the DISD in those old days. They taught you the birds and the bees. Right. They taught you about everything, you know, how girls got pregnant. I mean, they broke everything down, how to stay out of trouble, how to stay out of prison, how to stay out of jail. I mean, they sit down. They were life coaches, football coaches, social coaches. They broke everything down to you in those days. And the reality, sometimes a little harshly.
Yeah. I was telling my wife this story. She grew up in Africa, so she had some really hostile, neighbors and stuff. But I was telling her when we were little kids, I grew up around mostly Italian kids. And if I went down the street and Mrs. Quinzio thought I did something wrong, and she smacked me in the side of the head or kicked me in my rear end, there was nothing. No one was going to get on and give her any crap. If I went home and told my mom, she'd say, "Well, what'd you do?"
Yeah,
Mrs.
right.
Quinzio, nice lady.
Yeah.
What'd you do that made her have to do that?
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, that's a lot of times we always think that's in the black community where that goes on.
No.
But that's just really goes back to the way things used to be. Is that, everybody had kids' best in interest. Nobody allowed a kid to be, in you know,
you can't talk back to an adult.
Right, yeah. Respect had to be there.
Adults.
Well, man, we winding down on this show, man. We had Basketball Thursday. It's been kind of a interesting, laid-back kind of a show. Brought some guys in that are involved with this process. To see Richard Law, glad to have him on. You know, it's basketball, summer basketball season. We'll be back maybe one more time. July is going to be pretty much vacation month for the Lone Star Sports Show. Like I say, we'll come back a couple more times before the 4th of July, and we're on the road, and they not go on vacation, so there's going to be a little bit of a lull and a little bit of a break there. You know, we got to go to Las Vegas. We got 2 events here in Texas, and then we come back. We'll be back in a setting somewhat similar to this, back with the young kids again at Cream of the Crop Camp. So, you know, here we are. Hopefully we'll get some golf in. Unfortunately, we're not going to get any relief from this 100-degree weather. So we've got to get up early and early and early. I tell you what, man, we had the 6:45 tee time the other day. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not at all.
I want to fight for the 6:30 one now, you know, because, I mean, you could actually be in and out before it even thinks about getting hot on a 3-hour and 15-minute round.
You get done so early you can't even buy a beer.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. Well, I got done so early the other day, we ate breakfast after we got done.
Yeah.
That's what blew me away.
Oh, no, I can play early golf now.
Yeah, so that was a whole deal, man. So we're breaking out of here at the Lone Star Sports Show. We're going to continue to follow us on social media at TX Boys Basketball with 1 L. _Umani0 on Twitter to find out what's going on in the basketball world. TexasBoysBasketball.com. You're right here on the Lone Star Sports Show. Getting the real basketball piece in. We'll be about to be out for the evening, and here it all is. Go tune in to IndyHoops.com. You can see you got live games going on, recorded games going on. You can go take a look at this, warming up in here. The fans are actually packed. 8th graders, good-looking kids. We got roughly, I think I've seen 4 kids over 6'7", 6'8" that are involved in this process tonight that have that kind of size. So it's going to be an interesting weekend out here for the 2022 class right here at DriveNation in Irving, Texas. Brought to you by the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. I'd like to take another wonderful week with Tom Inman, Lady Life keeping us where we need to be, and my main man, Money the Prince, out.